we are going to draw a beautiful rosette, and we're going to use a four-fold construction for this rosette. So the first thing we're going to do is, with our paper, we are going to draw a line across the sheet, and your sheet can be any size that you want. Mine is 9 by 11, and then just mark the center. All right, and then we'll draw a large circle, and you can basically make it as large as you like on your sheet because all of the work will be basically contained within the circle. So leave about a centimeter or so on either side, but otherwise you can draw as large as you like. And let's do that. Start with the circle, and let me just recenter my zoom out a little bit. Okay, and then what you're going to do is on either side of your circle where the line intersects, you're just going to draw an arc, and you'll just draw as much of the arc as fits on the sheet, and you do that on the right and the left. And then what you're going to do is we want our vertical line. So we want a vertical line that cuts our initial line perpendicular at a 90-degree angle. And so what you're going to do is, it doesn't matter the radius, but you're going to draw two arcs above and below, and where they intersect, connected with the center, is where you will draw your vertical line. So I'm just going to take another compass, but you can always resize. But essentially what you want is to place the point of the compass where these circles intersect, and then you just need an arc. And this is just for construction, and this is just the geometric way of getting a bisector. So you do that above and below. And then you will place your ruler through the center, through where the arcs intersect, and then you should have a vertical line. If you really struggled with that, you can just use your ruler to draw the vertical line, but it's more accurate this way. And if you had to resize your compass, just use your initial circle to resize it again. Okay, so just like that, you just resize your compass back to its original size. All right, and then you place the point of your compass where the vertical line that you just drew intersects with the initial circle, and then you draw another arc, and then you want to just get this petal shape. You want to see this petal shape here because it's a four-fold design, so it's like 4 petals or a circle surrounded by 4 circles. We didn't draw the full circle because we just only want like this shape. Everything is going to be contained in here. All right, so once you have that, then you're just going to contain your design by connecting the tips of the petals into a square. And if ever you didn't have a compass, you could actually kind of get away with drawing like a square and then hand drawing in your petals in your circle. You could always try that. You wouldn't even really need the petals if you didn't have it. You could just draw like diagonals across your square, but it is best to work geometric if we're doing a geometric design. And then you will draw, so you've got your square. And then what we're going to do is always through the center, we're going to connect some lines. So we want to divide this square into, or this circle into more divisions. So we're going to connect where the petal intersects with the center with the opposite petal. And earlier when I said that you could get away with not drawing the petals, you actually do need to draw the petals. So let's say you didn't have a compass, you would draw a square. So like, whatever the centimeters, 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. And then you would have to sort of hand draw the circle and then hand draw these petals if you didn't have a compass. And then of course your vertical and horizontal lines, but hopefully you do have a compass, but there is basically a way to draw it like less accurate. But it would be interesting, sometimes the human hand, like the human touch, is also interesting. So now we're going to connect this point through the center, through the opposite point. So let's do that. Okay, and then we're going to do the next thing for the other side. So this side through the petal, through the opposite. Okay, and then we do that on the other side. So at this point where the petal intersects the circle, through the center, through the opposite. then the last one on the other side. So now you've divided your circle into 12 pieces. So ignoring the petals, like you can see like 1, 2, 3, like let's say it's a slice of, pie or something. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to draw a series of squares inside our circle here. So I'm going to change colors just to make it a little bit easier to see. We're still in the construction phase, but we're getting closer. So the first one we're going to connect is like the very top with the very right, bottom, and left. And you can put letters like wherever a line intersects a circle, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. If you like, you can do that. It is helpful, but I'm going to just go for it by connecting by drawing this like diamond shape, or a dynamic square as we call it in geometry, inside my circle. So this is the first square that we're drawing. That's the first one. And then the next one is everything is offset by 1. So we started here, this is the next point, offset by 1. And then we went to here, this is the next set, offset by 1. So everything is just moving offset by 1. So you connect the next series of lines. So you have your first line, your first square inside your circle, and then your second one is offset by 1. Okay, and then your third one is offset by 1 again. So 1, so we're just moving clockwise by 1, and then you're drawing your next and your last square. So let's do that. All right, and that's actually like kind of a beautiful design in and of itself, but we're gonna go a little bit further. So what we're gonna do is, the next step is we're gonna skip 3. Apologies, we're gonna skip 1. So we're gonna draw we're basically going to draw a line going around, but always skip 1. So when I say skip 1, it's where the line and the circle intersect. So we're just going to skip 1. So we're going to start at the top, skip this one, connect it to this one, skip this one, connect it to this one, skip this one, connect it to this one, etc. So let's do that. So we're drawing a series of lines, always just skipping 1 intersection. So it's going to look like a hexagon. So there we go. And we started at the top, okay? And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to start right next to the top. You can start at the right or the left. It actually becomes the same thing, but you're just basically going to do the exact same thing. Start here, skip 1, connect it to the next one, skip 1, connect it to the next one, skip 1, connect it to the next one, etc. as you go around. So let's do the first one here. All right, so now we've got all the lines in place. And then now we're just going to draw a series of parallel lines, and then we'll be basically done. So the parallel lines are, find this small triangle and then the opposite small triangle. And you're just going to connect the lines with a series of parallel lines by connecting the bottom point here of the triangle to the bottom point here of the triangle. Okay, so you find this small triangle, you connect the bottom to the bottom. And you're going to always go around offset by 1 and do the same thing. So you're going to connect this bottom, okay? So we're moving clockwise to the next one, this bottom. And then you're going around, 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 and you're doing that each time. Oh. My pen slipped here, but essentially the bottom here to the bottom here. The next one, this point and this point to this point and this point. Okay. Okay, so we did this point and this point to this point and this point. Next, this point and this point to this point and this point. So once you see the triangles, you're just basically always moving clockwise and connecting the triangles to each other with a series of parallel lines. So next, this point and this point to this point and this point. And you're always just moving across by 1. And the last one, this point and this point to this point and this point. All right, and then now you're done. Now it's a matter of coloring, finding the shapes that you want to color. You can paint. It's really up to you, but I like to find these stars that go around because it's helpful to see the other shapes. So I'll color it in, but of course you can do what you like. And this is like a 5-point star, and they all touch. So that can help you start to pick out the shapes that you want now. So see, these all touch each other right here. So if you color that in, then you can start to see the rosette come to life. Okay, and you go around and there's 12 of them. So 1, 2, 3. This one is where my pen slipped. So just be careful with that. Of course, you'll be working in pencil. So if ever it slipped, you could just erase, try again. Okay, and then you just go around and find them. Find these star shapes. Okay, and then these are, you can find the center. So the center, it's a star with 12 points. And then this is your creativity. If you wanted to add like a flower or something like that, you could do that. If you wanted to keep it purely geometric, you can do that. But this is where, you know, your creativity, if you wanted to color with like gold or, you know, a series of colors that you like, now it's up to you. Okay, so we got the center. And then you can color really any color that you like. This part is really up to you, but you know, you have these kite shapes here. I'm just kind of going fast, but you could paint with watercolor. It looks very beautiful. Okay, and then you also have this shape here. And you have that all around, and you also have this other shape here. And of course, it's up to you how you color it. You could be very creative. If you use pencil crayons, you know, you could mix colors. You could just make it, you could outline it with black. You can make it look very unique, very beautiful. So you have all these shapes here to color. All right, I'll leave you to it.